Thank you so much, Piyush. I think the first thing that we do when we start off is we do a couple of fun icebreakers. This is just to kind of catch you a little off guard and also try and prompt some silly responses from you. So the first question is, we all know you're doing really well as a finance leader, as a CXO. But what is one job that you would absolutely fail at? It's on
Okay,
Teams. In fact, I'll
what is
send
one
you.
job that I would fail at?
Yes.
I can say fail. I don't think I would fail, but rather I would uh, struggle a little bit is around taxation. That happens to be a weaker spot of mine. I try to deal that by spending additional time talking to people and studying like a kid with a paper, pen, and a notebook by
Mm-hmm.
taking notes and all of that. But that's one area I would say is I'm little weaker on that side.
Okay, I think I should have clarified. This answer doesn't, I mean, cannot have anything to do with numbers. So it can't be any job where your existing skill set is being used. So maybe, I'm terrified of heights. So I would be a very bad bungee jumping instructor, something like that. So what's one job you would
Okay,
absolutely
that
fail
way
at?
I'll have to
Yes.
think. Doing what my wife does at home.
Okay, so more in terms of managing the household.
Yeah, managing the entire house. I think she does beautifully, taking care of every small needs, basically the entire household management.
Mm-hmm.
I am very bad at it.
Okay, fair enough. And if you were not a CFO, what would your dream job be? Again, this has to be completely unrelated to finance or
I
numbers.
wanted to be an astronaut.
Oh, interesting. And this was when you were a
Yeah.
kid?
I always
When you
have
were,
this liking of space.
hmm. Okay, okay. So are you still, how do you keep those, that passion or that interest active still?
I mean, at times I go through, whenever I have time, some posts, some LinkedIn. There are some startups in this space,
Mm-hmm.
and I have, made a point. I have just reached out to them, connected with couple of them. In fact, even met with founders of one of the company. Uh, just to introduce myself, see if there's any way I can contribute to their mission,
Hmm.
and we are connected. So that way is I get to know what's happening, what are the new technologies that is getting built. And apart from that, lot of these curiosity related things, whenever there's a Chandrayaan launch
Yeah.
or, just like any other. Yeah. So I'll keep following what's
Interesting.
happening, what happened, and, pictures
Mm-hmm.
and videos do excite me on this particular space. So that's way, I mean, not that I'm a great reader but I just try to, it excites me basically.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I thought you would say something more in terms of being a travel guide or, being like a fitness trainer or something, because I know you're really enthusiastic about both fitness as well as, learning about different cultures.
Yeah, certainly I am. So I'm a travel freak. I do love fitness and all of that. But I don't think I would have done that
Job.
uh, as a source of living or as a job.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. You would have kept that as your, I mean, that's indispensable. I think that is regardless of what your livelihood is. I think you have to have your passions to keep you going.
Yeah, I would have not done that for living unless I was forced to do that as my living. Given a choice, I would still not do that. I would still not open a travel company.
Mm-hmm.
I would still not open maybe I will, if I have money, I might put my money as an investment in the gym. That's different.
Yeah.
But I would still not take it as my, daily job.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. Okay, and another question. In obviously, you've had multiple stints at various, sizes of organizations. What would you say is the strangest thing that has ever happened to you on a working day?
On a working,
Day.
strangest thing. I mean, I'll have to really think what could be. I mean, give me some examples. When you say strangest,
Mm-hmm.
How
So
do
there
you
was this one
define?
time in our office when some scamster came in, and this was in our old office building, and he pretended to be from the Ministry of Finance, and he didn't realize that he was walking into a firm full of chartered accountants. So he thought he could pull a fast one on us. But yeah, that was just one incident, and that's the first thing that comes to mind.
I don't remember any such weird instance because ours is
Mhm.
was Wipro.
Correct.
So always,
What
tight in
about
terms of
at
securities.
Eka? Maybe. I mean, that's just one example. It could be something to do with, a coworker, or it could be something to do with, maybe having a bad town hall, or someone asking something really strange at a town hall.
Honestly, I don't remember because every time I'm thinking, but
Hmm.
this all goes back to work. At work you have good things, bad things. But
Hmm.
and I'm trying to think beyond work.
Yeah. What about during your
It's really
articleship? Maybe
difficult.
anything funny, anything that a senior might have told you, or anything that you found out for the first time during vouching? Because I remember, once when there was a company, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but when I was the article over there at that time, I found an invoice which was quite questionable. There was no actual deliverables for that spend. So it was clearly some sort of kickback. But then, I was told to, ha, ha, nahi, nahi, isko to rehne do, it's fine. Don't ask too many questions about it. So that was one strange thing. That was my first experience of having dealt with something like that. Because you always read about it, but then you never expect that your MUS sampling tool will actually throw you one of those kind of invoices.
I mean, again, it circles back to work, right? I mean,
Yeah,
for that
yes.
matter, I'll have to again.
It's fine. We can circle back to this later. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
will
I have
come
another
back on this. I
question.
think.
Yeah, no problem. If you could swap places with any historical figure for one day, who would it be and why?
Sorry, if you could swap.
Places with any historical figure for a day, who would it be and why?
If I had to be someone, that's what you meant.
Yeah,
I
for
would
just
choose to
one
be
day.
Neil Armstrong and go to the moon.
Okay, that goes in line with what you said earlier about wanting to explore space.
Yeah, I would for sure do that. Or maybe I can be Rakesh Verma. I don't mind. Rakesh Sharma,
Yeah,
sorry.
more, yeah, closer to our home. Okay. Um,
Okay.
Another question, more in terms of your personal journey and interests, and feel free to go off on a tangent here. But what's a book, movie, or piece of media that has had a huge impact on you? It could even be, something on Instagram, it could be a podcast, it could be a TV show, anything.
See, I'm not a book reader, to be very honest. I think I told you before also. I don't even
Hmm.
remember when was the last time I read a complete book. So definitely not a book reader because I always believe that, CA में बहुत हो गया. I anyways had a lot of reading during CA days. But rather than book or a podcast, I would say my conversations with, I keep meeting a lot of these people, and I think this was somewhere which you even asked previously was about the mentorship, right? So I take that very seriously. It's no different for me than a book or a lecture and all of that, apart from the academic discussions. But those meetings are something which I really look forward to. I have my own way of setting it up in just making sure that the timings are perfect and all of that. Usually I do that typically in the second month of the quarter, and I try to catch up with most of the people in 3 to 6 months. But that is something which I really look forward to, far beyond what I'm doing on my day-to-day job, more focused on my career where I want to be ultimately. I think, and I have some 5, 6 mentors whom I keep doing round robin. But that certainly helps me. My reading so far is either out of my interest or something which I have to refer to because I have to deliver on some work or some current updates which keep happening. Election चल रहा है तो क्या result है अभी budgeting was on, so what was the budget outcome, but it's more of that just to stay appraised of the recent updates.
Got it, got it. So it's more about one-on-one interactions with you. I feel like that's something that gives you
Yeah.
more value. Got
Yeah,
it. Fair
I
enough.
find it more lively, when you hear something from a person who is right in front of you, giving you the live narration and the live examples. I resonate that more as compared to a book.
Fair
Or
enough.
rather,
And
even if I have to
huh,
refer a book, I prefer, switching a YouTube and
yeah.
then listening to or viewing it rather than reading it.
Fair enough. And since you mentioned that you prefer these one-on-one conversations, what is the best piece of advice? I mean, it might not have been from one person or it might not have been one specific conversation, but overall, what do you feel has been something which you probably didn't think of and someone else gave you that perspective and you've just carried it with you and it has kind of altered the way you think in a good way? It could be,
So there are
something to do in
multiple.
your
I
personal
think
life or professional life, but something that was very, very pivotal.
so. I think this is a journey, and I think the piece of advice, and honestly, most of these people have given me consistently over time or over different people whom I have met is your passion to learn. You have to be passionate about the job that you are doing. Doesn't matter whether it is a CA, non-CA, or whichever field or whichever sector you are, but uh, the eagerness to learn something has to be always there. So
Hmm.
and I keep saying that uh, I'm sure you would have heard this before from me as well, which is you have to enjoy your work and you have to keep learning. If those two elements are there, it's a perfect combination to be in. Then nothing else matters. You don't need to run after salary and all of that. And honestly, this was pivotal for me, and this goes back to last couple of years. This is way back. And as with Wipro, I felt my salary levels are not so great. And I'm meeting the mentors, boss, kya karna hai, and all of that. And they are like, look, don't think about all of this, keep it side. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is something which has been worrying me for quite some time. And ever since I have set up this meeting, I'm looking forward what to ask, how to ask, and you're saying me, I have just wasted my sleepless nights. And he was like, look, and the way it was like, if you are learning, for sure you'll perform much better than others. And if you are finding that element of fun in the work, fun need not be in terms of the activity that you are doing, but it could be anything. You are sitting in an office environment, 10 colleagues right in front of you, somebody come in, अरे यार क्या हो रहा है, चलो चाय पी के आते हैं, all of that also matters. Today is Friday, let us go out for a lunch, or hey, it's your birthday, where is my treat? Small little things, all of that matters. You feel connected to the ecosystem, which increases your longevity in the company. If you are learning, you will stick around. And if those two are happening, the magic will happen. And when that magic happens, it is displayed at your work, and then, compensation and all of that follows. So that was something which was very surprising to me when I heard for the first time. And I always take this mentorship at face value. Whatever advice comes, I'll not judge it. I'll preach it for some time. Do it with myself. If it doesn't work, I don't even need to tell them, okay, I'm not following, but at least you have your honest reflection on whether you are liking it or not. But so far it has turned out to be true. And I think I have seen some of that translating in terms of the elevations I have got across my roles. Uh, and I today strongly believe, compensation follows. If a person is even leaving, compensation, and if somebody says I'm leaving for compensation, honestly, that's not even a right answer. There's it's just an outcome or something which would have just added to its wound.
Right.
Yeah. So
So yeah, you've learned that running after excellence is more fruitful than, and then the compensation and the benefits will follow.
you don't even need to run after excellence. All you need to do is, just make sure you are learning, that learning attitude, that
Hmm.
child inside you to learn something, to experiment something has to be there, right? If I have to correlate at work, I know you don't want me to do that, but just take an example, right? If I'm not uh, curious to do, let's say I give you a new task, okay, can you tell me the impact of applicability of this accounting standard, right? And if you don't
Hmm.
find interest in learning that subject, you will prepare something which is, for the sake of preparing and just submit
Yeah.
it to me. I will have 10 questions. You will not answer. You will say, I'll come back. But if that topic excites you, if you are keen to learn, you will read, what is that standard? Why was it there?
Hmm.
What are we trying to do? What is the objective of this exercise? Whom are you going to feed into? What is he going to do with this? And, let me look it from his lens. How is he looking at? So all of that adds up. And then, what it ultimately entails is you are well prepared without knowing that you are preparing for it because you have covered everything, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and that that child in you who wants to learn, if that is there, for sure, no matter which role you do, you will excel. And which is why, you will see numerous of these examples. Where kids, yeah,
Yeah.
isko koi role de do, ye kar leta hai. He doesn't fail in any role. You give him
Right.
anything, he will do it because
Correct.
he finds interest in that and he is eager to learn.
Hmm.
I can tell you from my Wipro days, I still remember an example of a guy. I'll not name him, but this guy, I mean, senior to me, right? And we called him a Wikipedia, chalta firta Wikipedia and all of that, right? What he does, he goes out on lunch with someone. After lunch, he will make sure he does a 15-minute walk with someone who is nowhere related to his topic. So if he's in
Got
business
it.
finance, you will find him walking with a taxation guy or a delivery guy. And we'll keep thinking,
Hmm.
what is he even trying to do? But that is his curiosity to learn. Okay, let me understand what is he doing? How does
Right.
that happen? And obviously, he will figure out some work to tie it back to his work.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
But that's how things are.
Wonderful. Actually, that's a good segue into the next question because you mentioned learning is so important for you. And since you've been a CXO and you were a CFO, what is a skill or discipline that you have learned from other functions, maybe sales or marketing or maybe the founder's office, but which you have carried with you and which you have implemented? Maybe, it has nothing to do with, analysis and numbers, but it's just a daily practice that you started doing as well.
Simplicity and timelines, whatever you call punctuality or making sure deliverable is on time or whatever you say. I think as we as I interact more with the management team, be it in my previous days at Eka or in my last roles at Wipro or even at ITC now, people look for simplicity. Very often, what we'll end up doing is we'll put so much of information together because we want, okay, he should know this, he should know this, he should know this, but everybody's span of attention is limited, right? uh, and the ability to simplify and to do the storytelling is what differentiates, right? You pick up a complex problem, no matter whether you know it or not, but if you can simplify and narrate that as a story to me, you have actually not simplified the problem, you have solved the problem, right? The moment you simplify,
Yeah.
because and we keep hearing, but the reality is, those the most complex problems are solved by the easiest tweaks or solutions, right? So and that makes a difference. One thing what I have learned from each of these leaders is their ability to simplify and to do the storytelling and then stay committed on the timelines what they have. If they have agreed on a timeline, you better be on that timeline. Not that you will always be on time, but then keeping that communication channel open, letting them know that this deliverable is getting delayed and all of that. So that transparency and in terms of communication is super important.
Right, fair enough. And if you could concise, make all of this into one strip of advice that you could give to your 21-year-old self. I'm assuming your 21-year-old self is either just qualified CA or is in the midst of it.
I
What would
was
that advice
probably
be?
uh, just stay focused on what you want to do. I think whatever I have said, I think that would translate, have fun, do what you like doing, try different things. At Eka, I have learned, and which is the beauty of working in a startup is, experimentation,
Hmm.
the amount of experimentation that you can do is, and nobody will tell you experiment this, because every experimentation means something additional going out of you, which is time, right? Because you have a set of deliverable that you need to deliver. अभी आप मेरे को experiment करने बोल रहे हो, उसका time कहाँ से आएगा? वो भी वहीं से आएगा, right? But the
Hmm.
more you experiment, makes you far more agile. I think that is important because this is when you open up, your brain opens up, you try figuring out simplest solutions, which saves times for everyone, makes you productive, and all of that. But I think my advice to myself would be, and even I keep that to the same 40-year-old. Mine is, try to be simple and keep learning. I mean, you pick up phone on and call up any of my team, these two words they will tell by heart. Okay, you should keep learning and keep enjoying. Rest everything will follow. So
Nice.
I think that is it, that's the simple formula I have, it's not so complicated, if
Hmm.
you and there are times when you need to obviously put yourself into a tough situation, doing something or a role which is your weaker spot. I talked about taxation, controllership. Similarly,
Hmm. Hmm.
I had
Hmm.
always
Hmm.
been into business finance, switching to controllership or from stable Wipro to a company like Eka, and then now moving back
Yeah.
to a mid-tier organization. These
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
experimentations, right?
Correct.
Obviously, at every juncture, you will learn something, but
Hmm.
that has to be there. Don't be afraid of taking calls, in whatever shape and form, in your personal life, at work, if you need to take a decision, move on. I mean, don't be stuck with something and just don't make it someone else's problem. I
Right.
think we have this habit at work, okay, this is a deliverable, I need to work on it, and there's an email, and I've just pushed it to someone. Okay,
Hmm.
email's cleared,
Yeah.
that should not be the objective,
Instead of
right?
just like a tick in the box, you actually do it
Yeah, okay.
in the
There was an
true
email.
spirit.
I responded back, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't solve because it will
Hmm.
come back to you in the same shape or form. But
That's
yeah,
right.
those are few pieces of advice for myself.
Hmm. Very nice. And since you spoke about, not complicating things and simplifying things, what do you feel is one big misconception that people have about CFOs or senior finance leaders? And when I mean people in general, I'm also talking about the two kinds. One is people who want to get there, and one who have nothing to do with finance. So basically, your marketing head or your sales head who sometimes might be at odds with finance, saying, no, this is not the right data because they probably don't understand concepts like revenue recognition or billing. They're only looking at, no, no, I closed, so many dollars worth of sales deal. So, as an example, so what do you feel from two ends of the spectrum? One is people who are aspiring to get to where you are, and one is people who are also CXOs, but not at all from the same field. So both of these questions, for both of these, different types of people, what do you feel is the biggest misconception that people have?
See, I wouldn't say misconception, but I think a lot of time this whatever push and pull happens because uh, traditionally, in my view, people have envisaged finance or CFO as the bad cop, or Rakshas, or somebody who is not playing on your side, or whatever you call it. And I think, and there's no harm in, obviously there are reasons, why people have thought that way, because for sure, and that's something that we have to live with. Honestly, there's no solution because our subject is so complex. All of a sudden, when you talk about revenue, there are accounting standards, and then all of a sudden you have some reporting guidelines, SEC, Rev Rec. You have to keep balancing all the time, right? Be it business, be it finance. So, and I think that's where a lot of the misconceptions happens. Yeah, going to finance is a problem. It's not a problem because most of the time the problem happens because people think, okay, it will again get stuck, right? They try to shy away from the problem, and that's where problem compounds. Uh, I think that mindset is changing. The CFOs are also that way, far more strategically aligned to the business. The business have realized that, and which is why you would see, CFOs more and more participating in strategy and, the overall well-being of the organization. So that is something which I think people have realized, but the element that we are partners to business success is there. It's just that trust and belief has to be there. A lot of organizations have already done, a lot of people are doing, and eventually things will happen. And the same set of advice, even for the people who are aspiring to be CFOs, I think, uh, you know, getting your priorities right is super important. Uh, for a CFO, there's no one size fits all. Uh, Rather, the same CFO, if he is working for a company A versus company B, you will find the difference in the same set of individual. The reason is because smart CFOs are someone who align to the strategic priorities. As an example, in startup, the priority could be growth, right? And then margin takes a backseat.
Yeah,
But
and
the
even
same
then,
CFO goes to a
in
matured
such an
company, he
organization,
talks
you
margin
can't.
all the time.
Yeah, and in a growth focused startup, probably you can't be very strict or anal about compliances as much as, you
Yeah.
want to be in a larger organization. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right. So that clarity in terms of what the priorities for the organization are and what is the need of the hour is super important. I think if someone can sense that right and drive towards it, the path is far more easier. Uh, but if you try to stick to, okay, I am the controller of the company and I know all of the financials, or I am the business finance guy, I know all of the numbers in and out, and hence I should
Hmm.
be CFO, you'll not make a
Yeah,
cut. If you are not
that
able
makes
to
sense.
sit in that management table, solve for everyone's problem, not just CEO. Obviously, see, you are the advisor to the CEO, so it has to
Hmm.
be there. Otherwise you would not even be there.
Yeah.
But even aligning to all of the other functions, showing that intent to solve problem even when you are not asked for. And there are times when we solve HR problem, even IT
Correct.
problem, even everyone's problem, right? There are times when even I'll talk to the facility guy. There are times when you
Yeah.
are talking to the
Correct.
HR, to the CIO, and you are trying to solve something or the other for him, and that's when the value comes out. And if you are able to
Hmm.
contribute to the right value, obviously you are going to make that cut.
Hmm.
So we'll have to be smart in terms of our priorities, the need of the organization, how you are adding value 360, not just to the function. Function का तो आप कर ही लोगे. That's why you are there, right? A CFO is by
Correct.
design a function head, right? So be
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
solving for your compliances, be it solving for your reporting, MISs, metrics, automation, that you have to do. I mean, that's the role you have, right? But the chair
Correct.
that you have as a CXO commands far more than what you are doing as a function head.
Hmm. 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 Yeah,
So
that
that
makes a
balance
lot of
is
sense.
important.
Yeah, so and so essentially what you're also saying for the younger generation is that they should be able to understand and adapt according to what the organization requires of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one is organization read, and second is going to the very basics of knowing your subject. I
Hmm.
mean, which brings me to a very different point. I don't know if they are correlated or not, and I'll leave that to you. Is nowadays, I think what has happened, and I'm not a generation biased guy, but obviously I find this, the younger kids, or rather, let me put it positively. My advice to the
Hmm.
younger kids would be, go into depth in understanding the subject,
Hmm.
right? You can't fool around with people who are above you. They know that
Yeah.
subject, they have lived that subject, right?
Hmm.
So please understand, not for the sake of explaining your manager, but for yourself, which
True, true.
was
I can
where I
completely
started,
relate.
that
Yeah, I can
learning
completely relate
part.
because exactly because these days, what also happens is a lot of folks when they're just starting out in their career, they want to immediately be a part of strategic roles and business finance when their basics are not yet, up to the mark, where they're falling short to understand controllership and basic journal entries is something that they're still struggling with. But no, they want the fancy business finance roles. They want they want to be into analysis, but then they don't want to do the grunt work that comes with that. They straight away want to
Yeah,
go into client meetings and presentations, but
this
what
doesn't
about the
help.
underlying files?
Yeah, you have 30
Yeah,
long years career, 30, 35, whatever it is, right?
yeah, correct.
Make more. I mean, go slow, take it easy. I mean, that's okay. I mean, you'll find people saying, "I'm doing this for the 6 months, and I want a role change."
Hmm, correct.
And in 6 months, you don't even learn. Forget what you have contributed to the organization, right? So
Hmm,
spend time in understanding that subject. Get into the basics, not for anyone, for yourself.
yeah.
Can you answer yourself that I know this subject?
Hmm,
If the answer is yes, then you have done your part, and then it's time for you to look for something new. And there's always
correct.
a freshness in the same work that you are doing.
Hmm,
As a, as an individual, if you have picked something from here, you have to take it here. That's the
hmm,
expectation, and which is why this 2 years role or an 18 months role comes for a reason, because 5 6 months you
correct.
tend to understand that subject, right?
Hmm,
Then the next 6 months you're able to correlate. Okay, whatever I learned in the 6 months, okay, this is what it is. Acha, mere ko ab samajh mein aaya, let me do it this way. And then
hmm,
you get
hmm,
into
hmm.
the experimentation mode. What if I do like this, like that? And about a year, you understand that subject thoroughly, and that's the time
Correct.
when you can actually contribute and take someone from here to here. So that,
Hmm,
and if an organization is expecting that piece from you, they are not wrong.
correct.
There's always a give and take. So the organization has given you for 6 months or a year to learn. So they also expect some sort of payback.
Yeah, I think well said. And that's a good sobering advice for the younger generation as well. Piyush, we'd like to end with a couple of fun questions. Firstly, I we know that you're still quite young, but what is one thing on your bucket list that you want to check off very soon?
Antarctica.
Oh wow. Okay. Man, it's quite even physically strenuous to go there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
I've
and
done
then
Northern Lights. I want to do it again.
where did you see the
But
Northern Lights?
this goes back when I was in the US. I actually went to Alaska.
Alaska. Wow, nice.
Yeah. So,
Lovely.
and this was some 5, 6 years back.
Ah,
So that's ticked off. Obviously, there are a lot of places I want to go, but Antarctica is something which let's see
is
when it
something
happens.
nice. That's amazing. I think you should go before global warming, completely gets rid of whatever little ice cover there is.
Yeah,
But
let's
actually,
see. I mean,
that actually brings us to the last question. If you could solve one global problem instantly, what would it be?
climate, plant
Climate. Okay.
trees.
Hmm.
We all face this problem. We all crib about it. Everything is correlated. Global warming, our health,
Yeah.
the oxygen that we breathe, the scarcity of water that we face in Bangalore. All of that are connected, right? Uh,
Yeah. Is it still as
yeah,
bad
and
in Bangalore?
obviously, yeah, there's one more important thing. If I could solve was Bangalore's traffic.
That I think, you know what, earlier we used to laugh sitting in Bombay about Bangalore's traffic, but it's just as bad and possibly worse here in Bombay right now because literally every road has been dug up for the 5 billion metro projects that they have coming up. Every road, everything is dug up, so it's quite bad. So we can't sit on our high horse anymore where we used to say, okay, Bangalore's traffic is terrible. I think it's just as bad here now.
Yeah, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. The solutions are there. The simple solutions. People have to adapt it.
Hmm. Correct. And because we don't want to end on that note about the terrible traffic situation, what's one fun or inspiring takeaway that you would want our listeners to leave with today? Of course, other than the keep learning mantra that you have.
Have fun in life, guys. I mean, life is too short. I've been told that before. I've been advised. I'm trying to cope it up. Not that I'm good at it. So this is something that I'm learning. But balancing our life is equally important. Job is part of our life. It is not our life. Uh,
Hmm.
so, but that does not mean we stop working. We have to spend our time. We have to put in that hard work, that number of hours, that grueling nights. All of that are equally important. But whenever you find time, focus on your hobbies, on your passion, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that helps keep you alive. I have personally, if you ask me, in the last 2 years, I have lost a lot of track of it, and I'm trying to get back on track. um, you know I love working out. I love traveling. In the last 1 or 2 years, I have not done. Obviously, my kid was also small, and part of that could be attribute, but I'm trying to catch up. At least I have a realization that I need to catch up. I'm getting back on track. So whatever you feel like, whatever your hobbies are, interests are, don't lose that. There are times when you have to give that a back seat because your prioritization might be at work or something else. But in the longer run, please don't drop that. यार मैं वो पहले करता था 10 साल हो गए let's not be there.
No, correct. And another thing that you said is very important, where there are different phases or stages of your life where you prioritize different things. So when you're maybe in your 30s, you're prioritizing work, but then maybe in your 40s, you decide that okay, work is just a part of your life, and you have other things as well. And honestly, your 40s is where you have enough wealth to be able to take it a little slow. In the 30s, you're still building that reserve. So it makes sense what you're saying in terms of phasing it out and prioritizing different things.
Yeah,
Makes
and just
sense.
to clarify, wealth is not money. Wealth is the knowledge that you have.
Yeah.
So don't run after that. By 40, I should have this much of bank balance. The
Hmm.
target should be by 40, how much I know. That's more important. So focus on knowledge. Knowledge is the real wealth. Health is your real wealth. Money you will make in your life. I mean, that will
Hmm.
come. Don't worry about that. Just be on the right track to shape up your career and you as an individual.
Right. Wonderful parting words, Piyush. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
taking
Thank
time
you
out and
so
hearing
much,
me.
Piyush.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Have a good one.